there you go, thank you. Jesus Christ, I'm really nervous. What the?
Hi everyone, first of all I'd like to apologize for not posting the video for about 2 weeks now. I try to post them every week, but unforeseen conditions have occurred and I got a crack on my brand new laptop screen. I had to go to Westfield to get it repaired, but thankfully Apple is gracious enough to cover that under warranty, and in addition to that they'll only do that in 7 days, so I'll be collecting it tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, so which is 6th of July or 7th of July. So for that reason my videos, I didn't produce one video, and this video will be posted later when I have the laptop to edit this stuff. So what have I been working for 2 weeks? So let's start with the fact that I want to be making the best possible quality videos on coding, on starting a business. The business part hasn't materialized yet, but the coding is going okay, I guess. So I've gathered some feedback from some of you, and you know, I'll incorporate that into this video. I'll make 2 parts to this video. The first part will be the non-technical overview of the solution that we've built for one of the hackathons for Ocean Protocol once again, and the second part will be the technical part, where I'll actually talk about the code that we wrote. I'll also annotate everything so that it's easily navigatable for you. So on that note, let's start with the non-technical part. Let's describe the problem that we've been solving this 2 weeks. It wasn't exactly full 2. There is this hackathon on Gitcoin going on. It's still the privacy hackathon. Still, because the previous hack for Ocean Protocol was also privacy hackathon, and this time around Ocean Protocol requires us to build a data bounty platform. In the README file for this submission, I describe from personal experience how I had issues getting the news data for my neural network, for my trading neural network that was supposed to parse the news articles and decide whether to trade the stocks, and it took me 2 years, and I have not implemented that model in the end, simply because so many things changed in 2 years. Now, this could have been easily avoided if I had the data in the first place. So, you know, this solution is about anyone going to this platform and creating a bounty, which is a task with a description of what data they need, and so-called bounty hunters, they are the ones who will be scraping the data for you. So you just put a price tag, make a description, and then other people can compete for your task. So provided the price is good, you'll get good quality data, in theory. So that is a platform that we have to build in a nutshell, utilizing the tools that Ocean Protocol gave us for the data part, obviously. So how did we approach this? As you can see, this is the front end of our solution. I've worked in a team with another person who wrote all of this front end stuff. So at the moment you can refine the bounties using these categories on the left. At the moment it's simply the bounty types and complexity. You can obviously click on those and you'll see that all of these are traditional, for example. At the same time, you can also filter by the expiry, for example, or the value. This will give you the highest value bounties or the lowest value bounties. That's the dashboard. If you want to, say, participate, sorry about the noise outside, if you want to participate in one of the tasks and gather the data for this bounty creator at this price, then you'll obviously have to log in. At the moment this is done through MetaMask. We are aware that you can have other providers, but for the sake of saving time, we've went just with the MetaMask on this one. So in order to log in, you'll need to have MetaMask. You click login, and you'll have to verify. You need to sign, and there you go. You're signed in. If you go here, then you'll be able to change your profile data. We have backend API calls to be able to persist this information. My name is Nazri, so let's say that. And I code all the time. That is actually true. My girlfriend can testify. Oh yes! I mentioned my girlfriend again. Not a single video is made without mentioning my girlfriend. Okay, so you can see that has changed to pick up my name. So my teammate has done a job. Good job, Dima. You're awesome. You also have a dashboard. So if you go to dashboard, there'll be a bunch of stuff in here. In the section of my bounties is the section where your bounties are, the ones that you have created for someone to collect the data for you. You also have your activity. So for example, if you make a submission, it will appear here. Is it correct, Dima? I'm not sure. Because I've just noticed there is a submissions section. You can tell that I didn't write the front end. Yeah, there is some sort of activity. We'll learn what it is in a bit, I suppose. So submissions will go here then. In that case, let's make a submission. Let's pick the new trading neural network and save me 2 years of time. When you go to the task, you'll be able to see there is a title. There is, I believe it's called name. We've added like a short description. No, sorry, this is a short description. Yeah, this is an extended description. You can then see the contributors. The contributors are the people, are the accounts that have started the work. Starting the work does not indicate that you will complete it same way that it doesn't, like if someone starts work on Gitcoin, it doesn't mean that they will submit it, right? So when you start work, you'll go into the contributors section of this task. If you go to submissions, then this is where the bounty creator will be able to see the sample URLs, but not the full URLs. To see the full URLs, they need to fulfill the conditions of the person that is supplying the data. So if they set the price higher than this because it took them longer, or they feel like the data they've collected is very high quality and it's actually more expensive than that, then the bounty hunter will need to satisfy that price, i.e. they'll need to pay that amount of ocean tokens to be able to get the access to that data. And this is a pretty neat section. It gives you like all the activity on this task. It's pretty cool. So click start work, and now we are actually able to fulfill this bounty. When we click fulfill, we can give some URLs here and submit it. And our submission was sent. So if we refresh now, we'll see that one person has started the work on it. But I guess it's not yet hooked up to that. I mean, this contributors and submission sections are not yet hooked up to this. Okay. In any case, you've created the submission. This actually generated a DID on the backend to identify this asset, I hope. Well, maybe my teammate didn't integrate that either. In any case, if you... I can see it in the log, but if we use the Postman, for example, yeah, this is now like becoming, you know, a mix of technical and non-technical. You know what? I'll show you that that it creates the DID in the technical part. I'll just explain what it's supposed to do in this part. Anyway, so this must have, in the ideal world, this would have created the ID for you. There is, the backend supports that, we do create the ID, it's just apparently we haven't hooked it up yet. And after the submission, the bounty creator, which is on another account, they would be able to see that submission here, and they would approve it and pay the amounts that are required, and they would get access to the data, and Breezo would stream the data to you so that the URL doesn't get exposed where the data is located. I'm not sure about that part in terms whether the URL is exposed or not, because I think I recall that I saw the URL, but I'm not sure about that. What I know for sure is hooked up on the front end is the create bounty section, in that you can actually create the bounties. I'm not gonna show that because I'm afraid it won't work. Yeah, I'm sure it does. Let's try it out. Create an autonomous vehicle. Do it. Description. Need lots of data for this. Let's say this is an expert bounty and it's traditional. And this bounty is due on the 21st of March 2021. I don't know why I like that date. And the amount is 100k. And we create. Well, I can see that it's 18 bounties now if we sort it by high value. Yeah, there you go, it's in here, but clearly something's wrong with the time. That's okay, it's not a big problem. It's even different here. Here it's 4 days. Yeah, this needs a bit of improvement. So that concludes my non-technical part. This is our data bounty platform. The API for it is working. We do create the ID for the asset that has been registered. I'll show that in this non-technical section. The only thing that isn't working is the actual access of that data. I get internal server error. I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out what's wrong in there, and I've seen that there is a problem with escrow contracts. There is no ABI for it. When you start Barsh, it doesn't generate the escrow contracts, and so when I map the directory of the escrow, the directory with the artifacts into my Docker file, into my Docker container, then it tells me that it cannot find the escrow contract, and I think that authorization issue might have something to do with this escrow contract, since it cannot authorize you to access the data because there is no escrow contract, there is nothing to fulfill. I may be wrong, but I also know that there will be a move from Secret Store, I believe, and so the mechanics will change a little bit, and I don't think it's a problem that this part is missing, because it is very likely that it will change in 1 week, at which point it will be obsolete. I have in broad strokes explained the idea and how our solution works on the front end. In terms of the technical part, let's have a look at the code. What I think was missing in the previous video was the fact that I kind of just had my environment all set up and it all magically worked. There is no magic here. I'll prove it to you. So we need Barsh for this solution to work. Barsh has a number, so Barsh spins up a Docker Compose for you, Docker Compose YAML, which has a bunch of containers that help you develop an Ocean protocol. These include a container for keeper contracts. This is like the core part of Ocean Protocol's blockchain solution. They are responsible for keeping the registry of who owns what data, for creating the escrow contracts. You also have something that I found very useful, is a Portainer. It's been run on localhost 9000. You can actually have a look at all of the containers that are running, and What else? You have Brizo, that's quite important as well. You have Aquarius, a metadata database that contains all the meta about the data that has been registered. So the workflow for Ocean Protocol is there is party A that has some data that they wish they could monetize. They go to Ocean Protocol and they register this data. To register the data, they give the URL where the data sits. For example, AWS S3 bucket or Dropbox, GitHub gist or whatever. You give a URL. That URL is encrypted, and it gets so you give the URL, but then you also add some metadata, and that metadata doesn't live on the blockchain. It goes into Aquarius. It's the metadata database, as I've mentioned earlier, and so all of this happens off-chain. The problem now is that URL exposes the location of the data, and we don't want anyone to have access to that. And Ocean Protocol's solution is to take that URL and have it being stored in the secret store. It is Ethereum virtual machines whose sole purpose is to store that URL in an encrypted format, but not one single machine is able to decrypt that URL. I think that's how it works, and I think this part is actually optional. You can simply password encrypt your data URL, and I think this secret store is actually the part that will be changing soon. So you've done all of that, and you then register the asset on chain with keeper contracts, and that kind of concludes the process of registering the data on Ocean Protocol. So Barsh gives us the ability to tap into all of that locally, and for our solution we need to start it like so. Commons is the web client that gives us the ability to register the assets locally. Agent, don't actually remember what it is, but I'm just running it like that. And local. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I've been talking to you for 15 minutes now, and turns out it wasn't recording anything. So.
Hello? We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
For the technical parts at all, so I'll kind of I'll just talk about it again. You need to start Barsh to spin up all of the tools provided by Ocean Protocol that will allow you to talk to its lower level components. Keeper contracts, these are the blockchain part of the Ocean Protocol. They're responsible for creating the escrow contracts to fulfill the bounties that we'll be creating. There is Portainer that has been run on localhost 9000 that you can go to and see every container running on Barsh. Because this is a Docker compose. Then you also have Brizo, which is quite important, that orchestrates the access to particular data for different parties. And you have Aquarius, which is a database for metadata. Commons is the front end that enables you to register your data set locally. All of this is local. Spree node is your local Ethereum network, on which we'll be deploying all of the contracts. So all of this stuff is creating the contracts right now, and they'll be then copied to our host machine, and we can then use those artifacts to talk to the smart contracts in the backend. To start our own thing, I wrote this makefile, and you just write make start dev. And that also uses the Docker Compose, and that starts the front end and the back end for you. That Docker Compose, you can find it over here. And what I do here is I map the database file so that if you need to debug anything, you can actually hook up to this file and check out what's going on, if there are any issues, etc. This is SQLite. Just for the purposes of being very quick and implementing all of this stuff quickly. But since I am using an ORM library, SQL Alchemy, it's not a problem to change the database at all. Another thing that I do here is that I map the artifacts generated by Barsh to this directory in the backend, so that we can actually communicate with those deployed smart contracts. And that is done in the API in submission. You can see there is this config file here at the top, and that is the configuration that we use to make a connection to Ocean, and then to do things like register the asset. When the bounty hunter makes a submission, they supply the sample URL and the full URL, and we use that information along with the price that they set for this data set. Because it may be higher than the bounty itself, right, if they feel like they've done more work. And we then register this thing, and that generates us the DID, the unique identification string for that data file. That is simply some sort of a hash of that file, I believe. And when there is time to pick the data that the bounty hunter would wish to use, they make a post request, and this is the method that handles that. It will create the service agreement for asset access, and it will then check. We then check that the unlock reward condition is fulfilled, i.e., that the bounty creator has paid the price indicated by the bounty hunter that we've just mentioned earlier, which is over here. And if all of that is fine, then we create the URL through which the bounty consumer can consume the data set over here. And this part is not working. I've mentioned it before. I'm not going to mention this again. I think that's it. Okay, and a couple of thoughts on what I think about my work during June. In terms of the, if this was a business and there was like a hard target for me to earn this much, or I'm going out of the business, then I'd be doing an absolutely ridiculous job, because I haven't fulfilled my objective of making $2,000, which is like absolute bare minimum. Like, I wouldn't do anything with that, just pay the rent and eat food and not go out of my flat for a month. I have not achieved that goal. I've made, in terms of the hard cash earned, I've made $800. That is $1,200 short of the target. And so the lesson extracted from this is that I have to be much, much more aggressive with the things that I pick to do. I will not feel comfortable looking in the direction of starting my own business before I even can sustain myself comfortably by doing kind of the side work. So from now on, I'll be very careful about how I spend my time and how I manage it. I've obviously done this hack and the previous hack. The previous hack, in terms of the time efficiency, was very good, actually. I'm quite satisfied, but there is no guarantee, obviously, that it's a hackathon. So you may win it or you may not win it. In terms of this one, I've worked with a team member, and it took me more than a week to make this with someone than it did for me to submit the previous hack, which I did myself in a week or less, actually. And three days of that was just making the environment work. Lesson learned: manage your time very carefully. And a couple of final thoughts that I want to share with you. I think it's better to start something that you have on your mind earlier than later. I could have done this like much earlier, but at least started this. So that's good enough. That's okay. I've started this. Another thought is that job security is great, but I think it is dangerous. You get used to the circle of people. You start getting comfortable. You don't challenge yourself. You don't go outside of your comfort zone, and that is detrimental. At least for me, I don't want that. I want to grow, and I'm actually quite introverted, and putting myself up on YouTube is quite a feat for me, but hopefully this shows that anyone can do it, and you can do it too if you want to. Another thought is that it's very good to have your work being documented somehow. So for the past 3 to 5 years, I've been working like insane amounts of hours. Like, not I had a proper full-time job. I still do. My final day is in July, but you know, I've been working extremely insane amounts of hours after work for the past 3 to 5 years, and that all of that work is like kind of, you know, it's gone. It's like no one knows about it. I have pretty much nothing to show for it, except, for example, the market making bot that I wrote with my friend, the Instagram bot that I wrote as well, but none of that was documented like all of this. So that is another thing that I could have improved on, but that's okay. I'm doing it now. What else? I believe that hard work spawns luck, and so let's get some luck now.
Until the next one.